What is up, listeners? Welcome to the Run Club. I am your host, Damiano Cambridge, and I am super excited to be doing this podcast. And I hope you'll enjoy listening to it just as much as I do making it. This is something I've talked about doing for a long time, so to have it out there now for you all to listen to and to be a part of makes me super proud and excited to see where we can take it. Before we get into the thick of it, I guess I should give you a little background on who I am and why I've chose to do a podcast all about running. To put it plainly, I just love running. I love the fashion, I love the shoes, I love the technology. I love the feeling of my legs burning through the workout, the elation you get when you cross the finish line knowing that your training got you there, and much more. I'm not, however, by any means a professional runner. I haven't even been running that long, to be fair. I found running, like many of us, in the depths of lockdown 1, when gyms closed and the only outdoors we were allowed was 1 hour of exercises a day. Now, admittedly, I fell off of the horse a fair few times before settling in. Sort of like my experience with Game of Thrones, I suppose. But that's another story. So why running? Well, back in 2020, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called hypothyroidism. And what that means is, without going into detail, is my thyroid gland struggles to produce the hormones that it would normally produce if it was healthy. And my body fights it, thinks it's a foreign object, and prevents it doing its job. I don't plan on going any further into that today, but it definitely is worth talking about in another episode. So for anybody out there that has hypothyroidism, we definitely will be talking about how managing the autoimmune disease and the exercising and the fueling and all that sort of stuff. We'll go into that in another episode. But getting back to it, that diagnosis really made me realize how I've treated my body over the years and how that had to change. And I guess that's part of what I'm hoping that this podcast will do. I'm hoping it will motivate others like me that maybe have been diagnosed with certain autoimmune diseases, or even just people that have perhaps treated their bodies with a little less respect that it deserves, maybe, to make a change before it's too late and you end up in a state of, maybe like I was, realization, or where you have sort of been given maybe a pre-diabetes diagnosis or something like that. And hopefully this podcast will not only enlighten you to what you're doing in terms of your nutrition that you're putting in your body and the way you're exercising, the way you're, carrying yourself and caring about yourself, and hopefully will prevent you from getting to that stage that I got to. Without going more further into it, I was diagnosed with other things along the way, and it's been a long 2 years. So basically, the realization of what I've put in my body and what I haven't done in terms of exercising and, hydration and nutrition and all that sort of stuff, it really hit me hard. And I think in lockdown 1, when I thought, oh shit, this is something I could have probably prevented, maybe I should think about it a bit more carefully now. And let me tell you, as much as I tried to think about it carefully back in the beginning, 2 years ago, it's one of those things where you say you want to do something, but the idea of doing it and maybe changing your lifestyle that you're so engrossed in and have been for so many years is not the easiest thing to change. So for me, it definitely has taken a long time. I'm nearly in my 3rd year of this diagnosis, and it's only just now really starting to kick in and ramp up and get to where it should have been from the jump, to be fair. So my story with running is it is health based. It's also mental health based. We won't get into that today. We'll have other guests on. I'm probably going to have my brother on who works for the NHS and also runs, and we'll probably dive into it then. But yeah, 2020, I started running because of health situations. I, like most of us, downloaded the Strava app, and I thought I was a runner at that time. I didn't have any running shoes. I rarely wore shorts, to be fair. Anyone that knows me would tell you back in the day that it was just jeans all the time. Jeans, t-shirt, hoodie, and shoes that look good. And to get to the point where I'm at now, 2 years later down the line, I rarely wear jeans anymore. I rarely wear hoodies. I rarely wear like cotton t-shirts, really, or not cotton t-shirts, but general everyday t-shirts. And I own a good amount of running shoes now too. So it's been a long road to get to where I am at, and like I said, I fell off the horse many a times during the 2020 lockdown, the first one to today, basically. So, and during those times, I moved house, and where I was originally living, when I first started taking up running, there wasn't many routes that were safe enough to run around to make it sort of a full-time hobby, if you like. But I did what I could do, and I remember the first time I ever did a run, my my heart rate went up. This is the first time I ever did a run, so it couldn't have been that far. It must have been probably about a kilometer or something. And my Apple Watch was bleeping at me, telling me that my heart rate was way too high. It was like 210. And I thought I was going to die, honestly. My chest was banging. And I felt sick. I felt dizzy. I didn't know how to fuel my body at that time. I didn't know how to... I didn't know anything. I just thought, you know what? I need to make a change. And the change has to start now. And that run was probably the first run and the last run I'd done for quite some weeks. And it was, like I say, it was probably only a kilometer. And I remember texting my friend a screenshot of my Apple Health screen of my heart being ridiculous. And honestly, I thought my heart was going to burst. I thought I was going to die that day. But over time, it gets a bit more strange, the running thing. Like, it sort of, after that first run, it didn't really occur to me that this could be something I'd be good at, or want to be good at, to be fair. And like I say, I didn't have running shoes at the time. I didn't really know any metrics. I didn't know what I wanted from the run. I just wanted to sort of not be unhealthy. I wanted to be in the best shape I could so my body could fight whatever it needed to fight and have the best chance to do so. So as time went on, we moved house, and we moved to a place that was significantly better for running routes. And I think that was in the end of 2020. So from when I started, it was about April in 2020, in the first lockdown, about then, March, April. And we moved house in about September of 2020. And it's probably not a lie to tell you that I didn't run again from the first run till then. And where we moved to, my brother lived across the road. So it kind of was a bit more easier to want to run because there was someone regularly available for me to run with. Although the whole time I lived in that house, I don't think we ever ran together. So what I thought would make the working out easier never really actually came to fruition. But what did sort of put it in my head at that time that I could do this and I enjoy this and I like it is the fact that there was many running routes in the area where we moved to. So I started running from, we had a little garden centre sort of about 1.5 kilometres away from where we lived. So that was like the first sort of milestone in distance. So I was always trying to run from my house to the garden centre. And I remember I was using Nike Run Club at the time, and just to get to that 1K, that first 1K every time, and it was going, congratulations, you've ran a kilometer or whatever it says. I just felt, do you know what? I felt so accomplished, and this is 1 kilometer, and I for a long time I couldn't go any further than that, and I had to walk and I had to stop, and there is absolutely no problem with that. So if you're somebody that is starting Couch to 5K, or you're considering running and you've been, you haven't really been putting any effort into your body or looking after your body, or you I don't know, someone that just feels like you need to make a change because it's too much at them, like the way it's been locked down for 2 years almost. We've all been eating shit. We've all been sat at home, working from home. We've all not done enough. If you're somebody that thinks, but I'll only jog for 5 minutes, then I'll walk, then I'll jog, then I'll walk. If you're somebody that thinks that and then thinks that that's stupid or not even worth trying, let me tell you, that's how a lot of people start running. That is how most people start running. If you're not somebody that has grown up sort of in the track scene or the running scene from school and gone on and everything, and you're just a regular person that just wants to be a bit healthy, that's how most people start their journey with running. That's how I started my journey with running. I tried Couch to 5K. I had Sarah Millican in my ear. I just couldn't do it. For me, I couldn't do that. But many people can. I know there's a woman who I know quite well, who is the mother of a couple of the boys that I look after at work. And she started from Couch to 5K, and I would see her running past my house back in the day, stopping, running, stopping, running, stopping. It doesn't matter. If you get out there and you push yourself to do that, eventually those stops will become shorter and shorter and shorter until you don't stop. And then you just plow through. So with me, I was running from my house to the garden centre, many, many times I would stop. Many times I would stop. And I would think, fuck this, man. I ain't doing this shit anymore. Fuck it. I'm never going to be able to run to this fucking garden centre without stopping. I'm never going to be able to do that. And 2 years later, which I only started taking running seriously in probably about September 2021. So a year after I moved to my house, I only really started taking it seriously. And even then, in September 2021, I could only run 1 kilometer and without stopping. And that's because I pushed myself to do it. And I started filming every single day. I would run 1 mile or 1 kilometer, and I would film it every single day to put it on YouTube, because I knew that if I was filming it to put it up on YouTube, then I was accountable for myself and people would be watching that. Not that it matters what other people think of you and your training regime and how you get things done, but for me, in my head, it's like, if I'm going to put this on YouTube, or if I'm going to put this on TikTok, or if I'm going to put this on Instagram, I can't go on video and say, I'm going to do this and not do it. So for me, let me give you some more context, actually. I moved again from that house between the September I moved, and then I moved again in the following May 2021. So from May to September 2021, I really started taking it seriously, running seriously, and then by September I was like, this is something I'm gonna do this now. So it generally took me almost 2 years to get into running Seriously. So that's what I'm saying to you. If you're somebody that wants to start or is considering starting or maybe has fell off and then wants to get back on, it doesn't matter where you are in your training or in your fitness or in your health. It doesn't matter. If you're able-bodied and you can do it, then do it. Like, don't worry about how you look when you run. Don't worry about what you wear when you run. You don't even need running shoes. You don't need an Apple Watch. You don't need a Garmin watch. You don't need any of that. You don't need to download Strava. You don't need to download Run Club. You don't need none of that stuff to start running. The shoes you have right now are good enough. The shorts you have right now, even leggings, whatever. Just start. Just start. That's all you have to do. Just start. And it doesn't matter if you stop. It doesn't matter if it takes you 4 weeks to be able to run 1 kilometer without stop. It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, that's your journey. It took me 2 years to be able to run a kilometer without stopping. And then when I could do that, I pushed more. I pushed harder. I pushed as much as I could. I was thrown in at the deep end when I first started running seriously. I started running seriously, like I just said, in September 2021. At the end of September 2021, my brother had signed me up to a 5K. I'd never in my life ran a 5K, never. And I was training so hard throughout the September. Well, I felt like I was training hard. At the time I did. And my brother had signed me up to a 5K that I'd never run in my life, non-stop. I'm someone that if something is said just in jest or whatever, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, that's fine. So he signed me up and I went and by that time the 5K ran around, my knee was fucked pretty much because I'd been training, I'd been running and clocking mileage up every single day. And I didn't really know that I needed a rest day. I didn't know that I needed to fuel my body a certain way back in the day. And we're talking almost a year ago now. I didn't know any of that. So when my brother was like, yeah, let's do this, I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. It's fine, it's easy. Let me tell you, my first 5K wasn't easy. The first 3 kilometers of that was pretty easy. And then my knee started to give up. And I ended up injuring myself during that 5K. I finished the 5K, but when I finished it, I'd injured my knee for 2 weeks. And I couldn't run. And what I will say is my mental health suffered dramatically in the 2 weeks that I'd injured myself and I was recovering. So just a word of warning that if you are going to try to do it, to run, if you are thinking about running, I would say take your rest days as seriously as you take your training days. Because for me, I didn't rest the whole time in September, and then I did the 5K and I was put out for running. And at the end of that 5K, I think that's where I felt like I had like sort of an enlightenment moment where I was like, yeah, this is me. Like, like the crowd, the people cheering, all the other runners, like even stupid nuances like pinning your number to your clothing, or, you know, everyone doing the workout at the beginning, the warm-up workout, or everybody just at the end sweating and like hugging and I'm so proud of you and all that sort of stuff. That, I'm not very a sociable person, but for some reason that environment, being like on a race day in a pen and starting and everybody's there and you're all there for the same reason because you just love this one thing. And no matter no matter what you do in your life, that thing, you're gonna do that thing, and it's all culminated to this race, and you're here, and we're all here for the same reason. And there was a point in that race where I think this is something that really, really spoke to me and really enlightened me. I was behind my brother because this is the first race I'd ever did. He was racing, he's been running for like months before I was racing. So he was in a bit more of a fitter state than me. He could pace up and run at a certain pace for a while. So he was ahead of me. And what happened is I ended up catching up because somebody he was running with got injured, and my brother slowed down to make sure that this woman that had injured herself would get across the line. And I think that kind of thing, I don't see that in other sports. Like, sportsmanship is a thing; it happens everywhere. But I just don't think there's something about running, and like, people that run know what you go through to get to where you are on race day. And I think the kind of mentality and attitude towards runners from other runners is something I've never seen in any other sport, really. And I just love it. I love the care. I love the fact that people care. Other people help other people. You see it on the London Marathon when people's legs are jelly. They can't even, they're staggering. They can't run anymore. They can barely walk. And then there's like, just everybody helps everybody. Everybody understands what you've gone through to get to where you are. And that, for me, that moment then in that 5K, the first 5K I ever did, I think that drove it home for me that this is what I want to do, like, as a sport. And I've run not every day, obviously, but I've run ever since. I've done more 5Ks. I've done 10Ks. I've done loads of things now that I never thought. Like, and with running, it's put me in places that I would never do. I don't like groups of people. I don't particularly like social events. I don't like anything like that. But I love running, and I want to run. And if it means that I have to go through these things, these social crowds and all these people gathered in one place and people talking to me and, all of that sort of thing, if I have to put myself uncomfortable just so I can run, I will. And I think that's something to be said, like, for exercise and for running. Like me, I am somebody that has struggled with mental health, like many of us have, for years and years and years. And it got so bad once that I never could go out of the house without other people. And with running, for some reason, it like blocks that anxiety out. Like, just last Sunday, I went to a 5K on my own. The first time I was with my brother and my family were there, and I've run 5Ks with my brother. I've run 10Ks with my brother. I've run generally the long distance things I've done with other people, or the longer distance stuff I've done with people that I trust and that I love and all that sort of stuff. And this race that I've recently just did last week, it was only a 5K, but I did it by myself. There was nobody there. My brother wasn't there. My family wasn't there. It was just me. And there was about 2,000 other people doing that same race. And usually, I can't even get out of the house for 20 people, let alone 2,000 people. So I think I'm definitely not mended by a long chalk. I know that much. But for events like that, and for me to partake in those events because of something I love doing, like running, and for it to not hinder my enjoyment, there's something to be said, man. I mean, people tell you all the time you have to do exercise. It's good for your mental health. It's good for your physical health and all that stuff. But without trying it and without doing it yourself, you just you don't know. And I think getting that diagnosis 2 years ago was probably the best thing for me. It was like a blessing in disguise, really, because it scared the life out of me. I thought, fuck, this is going to kill me. And if I don't take my medication, it will kill me. But I'm taking my medication, and what I've managed to achieve outside of having an autoimmune disease is I've bettered my diet. I've managed to drop weight. I was big, man. I was big. And I almost lost 10 kilograms which I needed to. And I was blind to it. But then I was given a diagnosis that scared the life out of me, which sometimes that's what you need. For things to move in a better direction, maybe like a moment where you're scared, you're frightened to death is almost what you need. And for me, definitely it was. I was big. I was overweight. I still am overweight now, but I'm a lot less heavier than I was. My BMI is still telling me that I need to lose weight, and and I'm doing these things. And I'm on track to get even fitter and even healthier and even quicker. And, and I needed that. I needed that before the diagnosis. But before then, I was too happy. I was too comfortable in my own skin. I was feeding myself shit all the time. I was eating McDonald's. I was eating fucking donuts and burgers and pizza and all unhealthy shit. I was hardly ever moving other than going to work. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't doing anything. I was hardly drinking water. Honestly, it was about 4 to 5 cups of coffee a day. I drink 1 cup of coffee today. I mean, I drink 1 cup of coffee a day now. Rarely do I drink any more than that. And the rest is just water. I changed my diet. I became a vegetarian for 6 months. That improved it improved everything. And sometimes we need that kind of jumpstart to get to be the best versions of ourselves. And that's what happened to me. I found running, and in turn with running, I found ways to incorporate better nutrition into my diet and intake more, water, and start meditating a bit more, manage my stress. And when I'm out on like 5K long run, 5K easy runs, or a Sunday long run, it's like the music's off. It's just focus on the road and everything that's going on in my life right then and now. I can sort of pick apart and think, do I really need to worry about that? Do I really need to, put that on a pedestal and make that something that I should be worried about? Or is it pointless and should I throw it away? And running can definitely do that for you. And it's done that for me. It's managed to push me out of my comfort zone. It's managed to get me to a place where I can run a 10K without stopping. And not like 8 months ago, I run 1K without stopping. And now I'm in a place where every day I look at my Garmin app and I look at my training schedule, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a good training schedule. That sounds fun, I look forward to that one. And I never used to be me. So that's me. That's my journey with running. I hope you've enjoyed my story. I hope you've resonated a little bit. I hope it's sort of opened your eyes to what exercise and nutrition can actually do for you. Because I was somebody that was comfortable, like I said, in eating shit and hardly moving. And it got to a point where I ended up having a serious health problem to overcome what I was eating and drinking. And if you're somebody that is in that sort of same state, or maybe you're overweight because you're just too comfortable, but you need to change, then hopefully this podcast in time will help you become sort of confident enough to maybe try and change your diet or your habits or anything like that, And I think that's the aim of this podcast. We're hopefully going to be talking to many people that have been through all different types of things that running unlocked a better life for. People with mental health conditions, people with autoimmune conditions, people that might have recovered from cancer, people that, any kind of situation that running has improved for them. So that's the aim of this podcast. That's what this podcast is ultimately going to be about. And you're all invited. This is the Run Club with me, Damiano Cambridge, and every single body listening to this podcast is welcome to be a part of the Run Club. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to put the next one out for you. Thank you again for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.